faith stories,
My now wife Chelsea was like, "Hey, you're coming to church with me on Sunday," and I was like, "All right, I've been looking at the Bible. Let's do this."
fishing memories.
When I first started, I was just fish, focus on the fish, focus on the fish. And I see the kid catch a fish, I'm like, good job, perfect, awesome. And then he goes up there and I'm like, we're catching slot snook. And this kid's up here going, oh, the breeze. I'm like, this is exactly what it's about.
Meaningful conversations.
You have to stay in the Word. You have to have a good support system. You have to know what the end goal is. You have to know who God is.
Positivity. This is the Faith and Fishing Podcast. Your hosts, Cam Steele.
If your identity is you're an angler, whenever you're not doing well in the water, that's whenever you can't be content.
And Robert Randolph.
And his timing is perfect. We might not always agree with it, and we might not always understand it at the moment.
Bring you interviews with some amazing guests from the fishing community and discuss all things to do with fishing and their faith. Welcome to the faith.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Faith and Fishing Podcast. If you are watching live on YouTube or Facebook or on the Facebook group, welcome. This is going to be more of an interactive show, so I'm going to try to do my best to remind y'all to reach out and let us know where you're listening from, all that good stuff. I am not used to live shows, so you will probably see that see that as we go along. But yeah, so on Facebook, sometimes on StreamYard, we can't see your name. And so hello, Facebook user. And we'll probably see that a little bit. But yeah, so this is our live birthday show. So as of this Sunday, or let's see, when is it? You know what? I am looking at the dates. This was supposed to be next week, but you know what? This is fine. We're going to do it anyway. So as of this coming Sunday, the podcast aired its first episode 4 years ago. So we are kind of doing a little celebration. We've got some gift card giveaways to do a little bit later. Yeah, we're just going to kind of talk about some of our favorite moments in faith and fishing. Robert is not here. You notice he has come down with something and is having trouble getting a word out in between coughing. So he unfortunately had to sit this one out. And I know he was looking forward to it, but we do have a guest for the episode. I was hoping to have some more coming in and out, but it was one of those times. I think part of the reason that I had trouble getting people is because I ended up doing it a week early. But how are you doing, Josh?
Oh, not bad, man. I appreciate you inviting me onto the show. I know when we were talking about this, I guess, was it a month or so, 2 months ago, we were talking about this, and I always enjoy coming on and talking with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I made the joke earlier. I think Robert might be allergic to you. Every time you come on, he can't make it. But
yeah.
But yeah, man. So if we have anybody who's watching right now or is listening in the future that has not heard of you or anything like that, kind of give us a quick rundown of who you are.
So my name's Josh Carter, co-owner of One Objective Bass Fishing. We've been making kayak accessories for, I don't know, what are we on, 4 years now? A full-time 4 years, maybe 5 years. I can't remember. I know we're 9 years in with our 9 seasons in on our podcast. So I'm around about that, that time. So, but I mean, we've been doing the podcast show for, like, say, 9 seasons. We're on our 9th season now, actually. And our business basically started from our podcast show. It went from I guess, talking with several guests in the kayaking. I mean, I was in the bass boat side, and then we ended up having Casey Reed on and talking about kayak fishing. And then we ended up hooking up with Bob's with the Creek Outfitters. And he said he was going to get us into a kayak. We ended up starting in a Vibe, and then it's been ever since then. I mean, we fished a couple events. When we got into a bona fide, we fished a couple of kayak events, and we had long paddles. We had very long paddles up a river. We won the event, and I won the event. James was second, and I told him, I said, I will never paddle that again. And he's like, man, we got to do motors or something. We got to figure something out. So he came out with the actuated mount, actually, that we were doing years ago. We discontinued that mount, but we still have the non-actuated mount, and it's been magic ever since. The Lord's blessed us for sure. You know, when COVID hit, our business really took off, and I always say COVID was a blessing, but I say it very lightly because I know it wasn't for a lot of people. It was hard times for a lot of people. But for us, I mean, it was scary at first because when we went full time. I quit United Rentals. I was a diesel mechanic, and James worked for a company that built motorhomes. And we was like, you know what, we ended up buying a CNC and was able to pick up some contract work doing cabin. And then a month in, COVID hit and all the contracts fell flat on their face. And we just had one objective as a side business, I guess. And it took off. 2 weeks later, it took off. Like, I thought I was going to go back begging for my job at United Rentals, and it just took off. And ever since then, it's been a blessing. And we've met some amazing people doing this. We talk about, and I ain't trying to get too carried away on your show here, but we talk about God puts people in front of you for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's to open new doors and lead you on your path. And it's been like that. Me and James have talked about it actually a couple weeks ago, like looking back at all the people we've met that's introduced us to other people that's helped us out or get this far or do this, so it's, but anyways, enough rambling, but that's basically, that's who I am, where we came from.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess adjust my volume here a little bit. I guess got kind of a good transition there. You've done a really good job of paying it forward. So there's been a few times that I've reached out to you for different things, and you were gracious enough whenever I was just a guy there was no show to send people a link to say, hey, if you want to come on or anything. I was interviewing people and saying, hey, this is the idea. Will you be the first interview? You were like, yeah, absolutely. So and I will never forget on that whenever we were done with the interview, I was like, so is there anyone that I should be reaching out to? You gave me a list of 15 people. Be like, hey, these would be great people to have on your show. And then you also you gave me some advice. You said you told me to give it a year. You said don't make any decisions on whether you're going to keep it going or not until after a year, because you won't see any kind of traction or anything like that for a year. And we've talked about it before. I think what is it? The average length of a podcast is 7 episodes or something insane like that. And so to be 4 years into it, we would not have made it this far without that advice for sure, because I would have been the one that got super deep into my analytics and would have been like, well, this isn't working. I don't have enough people listening and everything, and would have completely missed the whole point of the podcast. So, and then you were also willing to come on whenever I was kind of having an identity crisis with the podcast, and had our round table of a few different people. So, thankful for that. And I'm not the only person you've paid it forward to. Not to get too sappy there, but wanted to say thank you to that. And also, while we've got it going on, thank you to everyone who's been listening to the podcast, everybody who's been watching on YouTube. We've kind of, after that roundtable, I kind of was able to refocus on the true identity of the podcast, which is sharing the stories that these anglers have to share with whoever it is that wants to listen to them. And we've been able to do that, and been able to I'm looking at some analytic stats up here. I don't pay too much attention to them anymore. I paid a lot of attention to them for a little while because we were getting close to 50 states, and I wanted to hit that number, and we did. So all 50 states have listened. We've got 30 countries, which Robert would joke right now and say, "Oh, they're just bots." But it makes me feel good whenever I look up there and I see all these different countries and everything. But 5 seasons, or we're in our 5th season now. I didn't even look to see how many episodes we've done, but 10,640 plays on the podcast platform, 2,627 views on YouTube, and then which is a total of 13,267 times that an angler story has been shared with somebody.
Yeah.
So super excited about that. Thank you all so much for making that happen. And wanted to thank our sponsors. We've Naqua is the new one this season. Omnia Fishing, JH Jigs, Get Outdoors, Pedal and Paddle, Mr. B Lure Company, and Save Your Outdoors. Save Your Outdoors has been with us for a very long time. Super excited to be working with those guys and to have those guys support. And USA Kayak Fishing Magazine in the house. Sounds like the mission statement of my magazine. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to. I saw you on Wendell Fishing's podcast, or listened to you rather, and I'm super excited about the magazine coming out more often and more frequently. That's going to be awesome. But Josh, I don't know if you saw this one from him earlier, but
Yeah.
that one made me chuckle.
Yeah.
And then maybe bots, maybe not. And that's what it's all about. But yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all. And if y'all have any more feedback or questions or anything like that you want to throw up here, we'd be certainly excited to interact with you however we can. But yeah, so Josh, one of the things I wanted to do since I've been now a part of the fishing community as more than just an angler. Because I've been fishing since near about before I could walk, but now that I've been kind of immersed in it for 4 years, I can kind of go back and look and see how things have changed, and I wanted to get your perspective on it as well. So in the community, let's start with the community side of it, because that's where it's that's where my heart is in the fishing realm.
Mm-hmm.
Where have you seen changes in the community over the past 4 years? How is it different?
I'm gonna say so. I want to go past the 4 years, okay, and kind of jump in like when we started. And I want to say since then, since the kayak fishing has gotten real big, and I'm going to go kayak and I'm going to go bass boat side. You know what I mean? Since the kayak fishing has gotten big, social media has grown over the last, I'm going to say 10 years of just the fishing social media side. Everybody's starting to understand how important social media is to growing your brand. You know what I mean? We all doing this, whether we're tournament fishermen or not. If you're trying to grow like a YouTube, if you're trying to grow whatever, we're all trying to grow our brand, and we've realized how important social media is. But I'm going to say in the kayaking side, I mean, it has been a big group of guys that have really come together and want to help one another. I see more good than I do see bad. You know what I mean? Like it's easy to go out there and find negativity in the fishing industry. It really is. If you go looking for it, you don't have to go far. We all know that. But I will say the negativity is growing in the fishing side. That kind of bothers me a little bit more because as like me and you, we're trying to get people involved in fishing. We're trying to get more people out there and enjoy this great sport that we're so blessed with. But there is negativity out there. And I feel like social media has pushed so much more negativity in the social media, in the fishing side, that it does bother me a little bit. You know what I mean? But like I say, you also got them good group of guys that are out there that love to help one another, love to see someone do well, love to see someone catch big fish. I mean, I love seeing someone share a big fish picture, because I know what that excitement's like when you catch one. You know what I mean? Like whether you just catch one all day or you catch several 2 and 3 pounders all day. You know what I mean? Like, but I know when someone catches that good one, the excitement that they have, once you catch that fish, that's a trip that you always remember, So I do love seeing that. But I think the fishing industry has changed a lot just due to social media. Everybody feels entitled to a comment, no matter what it is, whether it's good or bad. Good, I don't mind. Bad, it's like, I don't know. Mama's always told me, you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say none at all. But people don't believe in that no more. You know what I mean? Like they just don't. So, but I do think that the fishing industry, especially in the kayaking side, I do think we need to try to push away from that negativity, not feed into it, and grow it positively, because that's what's going to keep people in the water. You know what I mean? That's what brings the families in and the kids. And I want my kids to, when they go fishing and post a fish picture, that they're proud of it. You know what I mean? Later on, I don't know what social media is going to be like here in another 10 years. It could be crazy, but yeah. I mean, I think 100%, like the fishing industry has just changed a little bit I feel like there's more negativity. When I opened up Facebook, man, me and James actually had this conversation a while back, the whole forward-facing sonar thing that's been going on. I like forward-facing sonar. I'm here to tell you, I thoroughly enjoy it. Do I think there need to be limitations in the professional series? I think it needs to be limitations. I don't think we should take it away, but getting sidetracked there. But what I mean is when I open Facebook up, it's just nonstop negativity about it. And that kind of bugs me a little bit, because we got to have technology is always going to evolve in the fishing industry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's you look at reels. I mean, I just seen a video from Daiwa. Well, it wasn't from Daiwa. It was a guy throwing a Daiwa in like Japan or something. They clicked the button on the side and that thing beeped like it cut on. And he fires this way out there, and I'm like, holy crap, but in a way I'm like, man, that's crazy. Why do we need that? But then I'm like, that's just the sport evolving, and I think we need it. That's what we need to keep fishing going. But I just hope we don't get too crazy, because then it's going to take the fun out of, the fun out of it, because it's going to be so much technology. So, but yeah, I mean, it's changed a lot. I mean, there's a lot that it's changed for the good. And there's some that's just, I think some of these groups revolve around negativity, and it kind of brings the sport down, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say on the technology side, one of the nice things about technology is you can always turn it off.
Yeah.
You can use it when you want to, and you don't have to use it whenever you don't want to. So if it's taking the fun out of it, just turn it off and not use it for a little while. Get back to the basics and then turn it back on whenever you're ready for it. But Outdoors to Go in the comments, for those of you who don't know, that is my co-host Robert. He is he's probably coughing a lot while he's typing, but he is here with us. And got Roy. Is it Roy?
Yeah, it's Roy.
That's right. Yeah. Keyboard warriors are detrimental to fishing. And he's got forward-facing sonar on the way. I feel big and bad now. I've got side scan now.
Hey man, that's all you really need, honestly. I mean, you really don't even need that. Look at Drew Gregory. You know what I mean? I mean, this dude's, he don't have nothing. And I mean, I've stayed with him at a house before when we fished wolf and fox, and I mean, he's bare minimalist. You know what I mean? Like he's just taking what he can get in the boat, what he thinks he's going to need, and he makes it happen. So you don't need it,
right?
But it is fun. I like catching fish, so it's fun.
Yeah, for sure. And I also just got so I'm in a Feel Free Moken 12.5 the V2, and I just got a spare sonar pod so that I can take my kayak out without my sonar also if I want to. So, Drew is a fish whisperer.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's
yes, he is.
Man, he's a whole nother level.
Absolutely. But yeah, I definitely agree with you on a lot of what you said there. With in the community, there has been a lot more division lately on stuff, but see, I never really saw the bass boat side of it other than what I've had on the podcast. So whenever you have somebody on your podcast, especially whenever it's a faith-based podcast where they feel like they have to be on their best behavior like they are at church, you tend to see the best of people. They put their good side first. If there is any negativity, man, blast from the past, Brian Volpe, one of the guys that you told me to reach out to, and he came on the podcast. What is up, man?
Good people.
He said Drew's the man. Yes, he is. But yeah, absolutely. So we've got Zach Soulier in the house. What is up, Zach? Stayed with me at the paddle and fin meetup last year on the houseboat there. But yeah, we the changes that I've seen, I mean, obviously, I guess we'll get to that in a minute, but in the community, there has been a lot more of actually growing the sport instead of just saying grow the sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because there was a big push whenever I was first getting in. Everybody was saying grow the sport, grow the sport, grow the sport. But now you're seeing a lot more of people who are coming in and actually doing the stuff to grow the sport. And that has been really good to see. And you got guys that are, they're going out and they're giving kids tackle, and they're doing all that kind of stuff. So I think that's one of the big things that I've seen. What about in the, we've touched on it a little bit with technology, but in the industry, what's been some of the big changes you've seen there?
Tackle wise, it seems like everything's trying to push towards forward facing sonar. And I'm kind of the person that, don't get me wrong. Every once in a while, that whole catch the fisherman bait will get me. You know what I mean? Like I'll get that. I'm like, oh man, that does look, but now that I've I guess gotten wiser to it, I see a lot of people that are everything, like I say, everything's going forward facing sonar. So no matter, somebody's either making a mount that holds it so we don't have to go on your trolling motor. There's either, in the kayaking side, there's the mounts that hold it on the side of your kayak. You know what I mean? You got lithiums now that are being built to help just run your graphs. You're getting more into that. Everything, the industry is growing more technically advanced now than I've seen it. I would say in the last 5 years, it's really booming, with like even with your lithiums, you know what I mean? Now we got Bluetooth capability. We can go in there and look at our lithiums and see what our charge is, if they're charging or not. Like I say, getting into the graphs. You got graphs now where you can watch TV while you're out there fishing. That, to me, that's crazy. Anyways, why do we need to watch TV while we're fishing? But just the technology is really growing at a very scary rate, in my opinion. Like I say, I do like forward facing sonar. I do like it, but like I say, we're getting to that point now where it's like, when we had side scan, when that first came out, and I had the Lowrance on my bass boat on a skeeter I had, and it was a box you had to buy. And man, I hooked that thing up. I was like, you got to be kidding me. What else could they think of, and it just kept getting better. And then Humminbird come out with some 360, and it just kept getting better. And then we got forward facing sonar. And I had the opportunity when I was doing a lot of media stuff for just One Objective, and was at the Bassmasters Classic at Hartwell. And I had the opportunity to ride around with Mark Daniels Jr. on the last day. And that's when he had, it was like just Panoptics. So really wasn't a lot of different color palettes. It was just like little blobs, and had the opportunity to watch him use that catching spotted bass under docks. And I'm telling James about it. And then that's when the whole like live imaging came out, and I was like, holy crap, we got to get this. And we did. And we had it for like 2 years and never really used it until we got down to Lake Fork and started catching them off jerk baits, and like really understood how important this is. But then you're also kind of like, man, this is going to change the game so much. So, but I mean, but like going to iCast, talking about the industry, you go into iCast, it's so many more companies having kayaks in their booths now. You look at Realtree, they'll have a kayak rigged out, or you got Feel Free that goes down there. You got they're coming out with different things. You got Old Town coming out with the electric pedal drive systems, which Feel Free had something like that before anyways. But then just different trolling motors that are coming out now. I mean, you look, the Motor Guide has basically one set up for kayak fishing. It's 36-inch shaft. I don't understand why Minn Kota hasn't done that yet. I mean, but I guess because they already have it in their Old Town, they don't feel like they want to reach out to that other brands, But yeah, man. I mean, long story short, I think technology has been the biggest thing. Just everything's getting more digital and this and that, and it's a crazy time we live in.
Yeah, for sure. To add to that, I think the only other thing I've seen that has really there's been more of a push lately has been bringing the Japanese market to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ruffled some feathers in the way that it's happened, but a lot of the innovation and baits that they've been using over there are starting to come over here under the guise of different names sometimes, but we're starting to see more of that. I wanted to get caught up on some comments here. Nicholas Beltran's in the house. We've got focus on local events and bringing new people in has been huge up here. And let's see. Wait until we get Elon and get the Elon implant to link the forward facing.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody's gonna have this little thing in their eye that you can see it. It's just linked to your eye.
Oh man. We're already dealing with too many boat wrecks because of forward facing. We don't need it, like something like that too.
Yeah.
Some of the 3D imaging that Garmin's doing now looks crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy good. Yeah. Poop baits for the win.
Yeah. That is something else you're seeing a lot of people come out with. The fishing industry, man, we catch a lot of slack for we can come out with something. We've had it out for a while. Japanese baits for the Toyota. Yeah, but you was talking about like the baits evolving from Japan and all that stuff, and you just see so much. Like, go to the Swim Bait Underground post. Or page. I don't know if you're on that or not, but there's some guys on there that are hardcore glide bait, swim bait fishermen that pay hundreds of dollars for these baits. But then, some of these baits that you're seeing from Japan that are hundreds of dollars, you got bigger companies now that are kind of knocking them off and making them to where they're $14, $15 instead of the $150, $200, which for the consumer, that's great. You know what I mean? But for a company that says, hey, I want to make the next best bait, it's kind of scary, because all it takes is one of these pros to get it that are on one of these big companies and say, hey, can we knock this off and basically make it ours? And does it help the industry grow? Absolutely, it helps. But as someone that want to keep the industry growing, it's scary because if you make the next best thing, you could have some of these big companies just knock it off, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean? Because people talk about it. When we started our business, everybody's like, you need to get a patent. You need to get a patent. Well, patents nowadays are nothing like patents were 50 years ago. It's so easy to knock a patent off now. You know what I mean? So yeah. I just, in the bait industry, the only company I know that really has a strong patent is going to be Z-Man.
Yeah.
And I mean, man, you can be the smallest tackle company in the world, and you post, hey, look at this little. You could be a 15-year-old kid making a chatterbait off of Jan's Net Crafts, and if it's anything close to that patent, they're going to send you a cease and desist. You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's crazy time, man.
I'm trying to remember who it was, but somebody was making them for themselves. They weren't selling it or anything. They were just making it for themselves and got a cease and desist because they were putting that blade directly on the head.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they pay that. I mean, you know how much money it costs to send that piece of paper out to somebody, it's just crazy to me. But the industry is just kind of in a weird spot. But, we've catch slack before. What I was getting at was, we've come out with products that some stuff we'll post out there. We'll do a picture. And, after we make a product, we see somebody else come out with it. And we just don't really make a big stink about it. We don't say nothing. We just put our picture. We just post our stuff on our website and go. And we catch crap about it sometimes. It's kind of bad sometimes. But then I turn around and look and I'm like, y'all are buying the baits that are knocked off and not saying a word, So, right. It's just, I don't know. Like I say, it's just a weird time in the fishing industry, man. But but it's growing. I like seeing where it's going, but I just don't know what it's gonna be like in another 10 years.
Yeah. But speaking of your new products, I've been saving this comment until it was relevant, and now is the time. Question for Josh: are you in R&D for any cool new products?
So we got one that will be dropping Friday for the wilderness recon. And it's something that we may push over into some of our other kayak brands. I'm not sure yet. Not every brand, just because of the way it mounts and all that stuff. It's more, it's going to be like a graph mount. It's going to be a graph mount, but it's going to help a lot of people out that have issues, with mounting 2 graphs without having to do a big bar and all this stuff, It might be a little pricey. It's just a little more machine time and design time in it. But we're still trying to work that out. I would like to release it tomorrow, but we're still working out some final pricing and stuff. But we got some other things in the works. We got an RVR, Bonafide RVR in the shop right now. Just finished shooting some videos on some product installs for that. So a lot of the Bonafide RVR guys, I think, are going to be kind of pretty happy with what we got coming out for that. But I mean, right now, it's a busy time for us. Like this is our busy time. We're crazy busy with just being able to manufacture the parts that we already got out there, and shipping out. And we're very grateful for all of our customers. We're very grateful for them. Winter gets slow, and so you got that time where you can innovate and make stuff. But when you get to this time, it's just me and James. And so when you get to this time, it's really hard to sit there and have time to, and sometimes we'll work until 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night, just to finish orders. So it's just, at the end of the day, you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm going home. We're not making no products right now, but we got a few things that are in the bass boat realm too, as well, that we're doing. So I'm hoping, like I say, we'll have 3 new products releasing Friday.
Okay. Awesome. USA Kayak Fishing Magazine said better than my casting bar.
I don't know, man. What's that say? What's the next one?
Next issue is in June.
Yeah. Maybe we can work something out and get some of that in the next magazine. Ron, I do appreciate all his help with the privateers. We sponsor that team, and they had a really great tournament win last year at I think it was their championship for that. So they ended up winning that with Robert and Craig, and guys, please don't be mad. I can't remember everybody's name. It's on the team, but they did really well down at Gunnersville, and he helped us out with getting our logo in there because we sponsor him. So he really helped us out with getting our logo in there, and he's trying to make a really good magazine. The last issue we looked at was really good. A lot of good articles in there.
Absolutely. All right. Well, real quick, I am going to run this just to thank a sponsor, and then we'll continue our conversation, man.
All right.
Get Outdoors Pedal and Paddle is one of the largest canoe, kayak, and cycling retailers in the Southeast, with a huge selection of kayaks, canoes, bikes, and all the accessories needed to experience paddling and cycling comfortably and safely. Get Outdoors helps to expand and educate the paddling community through their free demos held on local lakes in the Greensboro, North Carolina area, and through in-store clinics and on the water courses and demos, and will even get your new boat rigged up for kayak fishing for you. Stop by the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or visit them online at shopgetoutdoors.com to be wowed by their selection.
All right. So, before we started, I asked you to come up with your favorite moment or top moment from Faith and Fishing podcast, and you asked, was that like Faith and Fishing like on the water, or Faith and Fishing your show, or so I was like, well, I meant on the show, but either way is fine with me. But I am interested to see what you came up with, man.
So the show, and I hate to say it because I was on that show, but I really did enjoy that show we did where we had several guys on here just kind of talking and, just kind of getting to know all the podcasters, that it's pretty fun when we all come together and get to talk about, different things and seeing how each show's doing and the kind of guests we get and all that. I really enjoy, and not trying to, I hate saying when I was on the show, but that was a fun time. You know what I mean? Like it was just fun getting on there and talking with everybody. And then I would say my time on the water, we get a lot of times, as fishermen, especially when you're out there early in the morning, you get those beautiful sunrises and you get those beautiful sunsets when you're out there in the evening, and, but I've had my times where business is stressful sometimes, you know what I mean? And there's times where you're like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. I don't know if this is what I want to do. And then tournaments are stressful sometimes, you get out there and, but I love fishing night tournaments a lot. And I had one tournament where it was really tough. Everything I did that day, it was like I wasn't even supposed to be on the water. It was just like, you know what, just pack your stuff up, head on back to the house. It's just not going your way today. And I just kept going. I was like, nope, I love fishing these tournaments. I had my daughter with me and, but finally got to the lake and then my trolling motor didn't work. I'm on the internet trying to figure out how to reset this thing with a Lowrance trolling motor, and I said, you know what, we're going to go over here and I'm going to sit down and, cause I had to drive across the lake to check in. And I said, we're gonna go over here and check in and then we'll figure out the rest through the night. If I just got to run a gas motor. I was with my daughter, so I wanted to fish this tournament because it means a lot with my time on the water with the kids. And get over there, and the cool thing about it is Jeff Mills and Stephen Hatfield that run it's the USA Bassin Tournament Trail, so it's a Thursday nighter. Good Christian guys. They do the Fishers, they run the Fishers and Men Trail series, and just really great guys, and always a blast to talk with. But anyways, I go over there. I'm kind of frazzled, because I can't even get my trolling motor to work when I get over to there, and I just told him, I said, just blast me off last. I'm gonna get this thing going. And, but anyways, finally got it going. Everybody blasted off. I finally get the trolling motor going, and it was just a time after I wasn't catching nothing. I had 2 blow-ups. It was just going south, but my daughter was having a good time, and then my daughter, we pull up on this one dock and she catches one. Then she catches another one, and then she catches another one. And it's a 3 fish limit there during the summertime. And she's just grinning ear to ear, you know what I mean? And finally, like, just the way the sun was hitting her and she was smiling. I took a picture of her holding her fish, and I get to looking at it, man. And like, that was the moment where I was kind of like, I'm getting irritated over the smallest things. You know what I mean? God put me here, give me the opportunity to have a daughter and a son to help them enjoy this sport, and bring them up. I want them to have good memories on the water. I don't want them to be like, man, my dad, and I got a story that goes along with this to kind of, where I'm coming from here on these thoughts, but I want them to have a good time on the water. I don't want them knowing that I'm stressed out or not enjoying my time, or I'm fussing at them because they make a bad cast or whatever. And then just my stress going on from work and all that. So, but anyways, she was catching fish. She was having a good time. She was out fishing dad, she was just having a blast. And, that was kind of like, I'm just looking at, I stopped fishing and just watched her fish for a little while. I was watching the sunset, and it was like, Lord was saying to me, like, man, you got to let this little stuff go. Just enjoy this moment. And, cause we don't get many of these times. You never know you don't know if we're going to enjoy it again. It could be our last moment on that water. So, or your last moment with your kid. So I was able to ease up. And once I relaxed, we started catching them, man. And everything just started started going. I think sometimes we get upset when the wheels start coming off and we don't know how to reset, and step back and say, look, I need to calm down for a little bit. And then because if you're aggravated fishing, man, everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
You're going to hang up every cast. You're going to hang in
Every
trees.
cast.
You're going to lose fish because your mind's not there, and then something that you enjoy so much is not fun anymore. So, but I think we need to all learn how to reset. And I did that day. And I kind of look at those moments now, like it's easier for me to sit back and relax and reset more often now than it ever used to be.
Yeah, that is awesome. Like Robert said, that's good stuff. But yeah, I also asked Robert to come up with his top 5 faith and fishing moments, and he sent them to me. So I'm going to read them, and if I need any clarification, he's in the comments, so I can I can ask for it. So at number 5 was the Andrew Hayes whole podcast. Well, he has been on twice, so I'm not sure which one he's talking about. So now's your chance to clarify, Robert. But the Andrew Hayes whole podcast, that's Andrew Hayes from Tackle Talk podcast, phenomenal show. And then for number 4, he says Matt Cashin and the story of Cashin rods. Number 3 was Steve Owens and his testimony.
That was a good.
And for the Andrew Hayes, it was the second time he was on. Number 2 was the whole episode with Jody Queen. He actually ended up running that podcast solo. I was rather disappointed I missed that one, but he did a phenomenal job, and that's another testimony. If you hadn't heard that testimony, man, that's one of those that just like trying to like figure out how to pick your jaw up off the floor to be able to talk afterwards. And then at number 1 for Robert was the first time he had to go solo. He says he's not sure which show that even was. And I reached out to him afterwards. I was like, I think that was with Paul Roberts. Was the first time that he went solo on that. But so those were Robert's top 5 moments. That I ended up adding the 6th one just because I had a little bit of a duplicate there, but we'll talk more about that in just a second. But so for me at number 6 was our episode that we did with Alex Rudd on positivity. So we've been working, like we added it to the intro this season. We've been working on making positivity part of our brand because, like we've noticed a lot of negativity lately in the fishing community, and we've been trying not to shine a light on the negativity and to shine a light on the positivity, and kind of make sure that is the stuff that's getting the most press, at least from us.
Yeah.
So that episode, man, I couldn't sleep for hours after that. I was pumped up after that episode. So that one was big for me. So number 5, let me ask you a question real quick, Josh. Have you ever been starstruck on your podcast?
Yeah, I will say when I had KVD on.
Okay.
I've always had the opportunity to talk to him in interviews, but it was business. Like it was more business side. Like, I already had a set of questions I need to ask. And the podcast show was everything shoot from the hip. You know what I mean? When I did the podcast show. So like when I had KVD on, that was, and then Gerald Swindle, those two right there, because KVD is such a serious guy. You know what I mean? Like, but you can learn so much just from just what little bit he says, And Gerald Swindle, he's all over the place, man. He's just a funny guy. So yeah, those two right there were my starstruck moments.
Yeah. So for me at number 5 was whenever I interviewed Jimmy Houston. So man, I was not sure, even like I reached out to him. I was like, there's no way he's going to respond. And he responded and he was like, how about 1:00 tomorrow? And when Jimmy Houston says 1:00 tomorrow, you figure out a way to interview him at 1:00 tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I packed all of my podcasting stuff that I had at the time, and plugged my laptop into my car. And because at the time, I was recording a phone call. Mm-hmm. So you remember, I was recording a phone call, and went and I was in my car. It was pouring rain that day, so I was like, "Oh man, I can't do it this way. I've got to figure out a different way to do it." So I went into a parking deck and went to the top level that didn't have that wasn't exposed, so that I actually had enough signal to do it. And man, for the first I don't know, like for the first 30 minutes, Jimmy called me Ken and I didn't correct him. Like, because it's Jimmy Houston, man.
You know, the funny thing is with Jimmy, I think he did the same thing with me. I don't think he called me Ken, but I think he called me John or something like that, you know?
Oh man. But yeah, so that's number 5 for me. At uh first time Robert's hearing that story. Yeah, yeah, that's uh definitely had to make the list. And he's the reason that I every time anytime little Debbie's get brought up on the show on the favorite fishing snack, was that's why I call him Big Deborah's. It's because that's what he said. He said if he said he wanted them to sponsor him, but if they did that, they'd have to change their name to Big Deborah. Um, he's a funny man.
Yeah.
At number 4 was so one of the things I've loved about the podcast is being able to build relationships with people that I wouldn't have had the chance to do that with otherwise. And one of those guys was Dan Flowen, who he's one of the guys who, with through the help of God, was able to beat I think it was stage 4 melanoma, was given 8 months to live. And now something like 14 years later, he's in remission. So, getting a chance to know him and the friendship that he and I built was pretty special. So number 3 on my list was the podcaster roundtable. So we got a few people watching. We're going to do a giveaway real quick for an Omnia Fishing gift card. First person in the comments to other than Robert to list off so myself and Josh were on the episode. Somebody give me one of the other guys that was on there, and I will we'll do a little bit of Faith and Fishing trivia here.
Yeah.
First person to come up with that answer in the comments gets a $50 Omnia Fishing gift card. So we were the reason that one's on the list for me is because had it not been for that episode of the podcast would not have made it this far. I would have thrown in the towel because I was at that point of, I had lost track of what the podcast was for. And I had just kind of, the whole point of that podcast was answering the question, what's your why? Because I had lost track of my why. And, anytime you're doing really anything, and whenever I was in sales, one of the big things was, you remember your why. That's how you get through the day. And that's how you do that. But, that podcast was so fun. And, hearing y'all talk about why y'all do what y'all do just kind of like reignited that in me. And really, it was, like I said, it turned around the podcast, and it ended up being the reason that we ended up with number 2 on the list was adding Robert to the show. So having Robert on the show has been, such a blessing because I don't have to keep up with tournament stuff anymore. He can do that, and I can just enjoy it at my leisure, and he can have all the news ready for me and everything. But being able to say, hey, I can't make it tonight. We got baby number 2 on the way due in May, so I can take a break for a little while, and the podcast doesn't have to stop. And he says he's glad to be here. And glad to have him in the comments so that even though he can't be up here with us on the like seeing his face and everything, he can at least interact with us. That's one of the great things about doing a live show.
Yeah.
But yeah, still haven't had anyone answer that question yet. Just in case anybody's jumped in, the question was, name somebody other than myself or Josh that was in our podcaster roundtable episode that we had. And first correct answer gets an Omnia fishing gift card. So, but yeah, so for me, number one on the list, it was hard for me to put it at number one because it's not a happy story. But so Robert says y'all are better looking. One of the things that I absolutely loved on the podcast was being able to build a relationship with a kid named Russell Dillon. And Russell, his dream was to be a professional fishing YouTuber. And at the time that I had him on the podcast, he had just turned 12, and he started his interview with, "My name's Russell Dillon. I have a brain tumor, but I don't worry about that. I just fish, fish, fish." And this kid was the most positive person I've ever met. And I'm throwing air quotes up there because I talked to him on the phone a lot, but I never actually met him in person. He lived up in Wisconsin. And last year at the age of 14, he lost his battle with brain cancer and ended up passing away. But being able to go to his parents and give them like, hey, this is an unedited copy of my conversation with Russell, and giving them a chance to hear their son have a conversation with somebody whenever they want to.
About something he loved.
Yeah. Like hearing him be excited, and he was nervous at first, but he opened up and everything. And, he got on that podcast. He talked about his dad. He talked about going fishing with his dad and going on trips with people. And he talked about people that he cared about, his friends, his brother, his family and everything. And, he had a thing where he said, that, gotta enjoy the time that you have. That was, but, being able to give that to his parents, and to do whatever I could. I had given the kid gear and stuff, but just being I guess Mama's going to bed. Love you too, Mama.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's been the most powerful thing for me, having been a part of this whole podcast thing. But yeah, so that is that's my list. But yeah, so we good number one. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
And there's been a lot of times where we've had somebody reach out, not to us, but to a guest and say, "Hey, your story meant something to me." We've had the guest, share it on Facebook or reach out to us and let us know, "Hey, this person said this about my episode on your show." That's what it's all about for us. Is we all have these, we all have stories, and we don't always get a chance to share them to the people who need to hear them most. So being able to give people a chance to share their story is what we're all about. So but yeah, so we always do like to have a "What's your favorite" segment. I don't have a lot. I don't have a list right now. So I am, you've done our 2 lists. and I don't have a third list to go off of. So I'm going to come up with a few off the cuff. And if you want to think of some to ask, we can do that too. But I might dip into our repertoire of stuff here. But let's get ready to do this.
It's time for What's Your Favorite, powered by Nakwa Adventure Gear. Power that fits in the palm of your hand.
All right, so let's go with one that has been asked. What is your favorite lure of all time?
Oh man, spinnerbait. I've grown up throwing a spinnerbait. You know what I mean? Like I've caught a lot of big fish off of spinnerbait. So yeah, spinnerbait's my number one for sure.
What kind of blade?
Mainly double willow leaf. Actually, I'm a big 4-blade guy now. Like I love throwing a 4-blade spinnerbait. I've thrown it for years. I've thrown a booyah. I mean, to be honest with you, the spinnerbait is it's not the top of the line bait. You always got to adjust that thing every time a fish hits it. Is and you catch 3 or 4 and it's about done. Big ones. So, but yeah, booyah spinnerbait 4-blade is like my go-to when they're around a lot of bait fish.
Okay, absolutely. Robert is also a spinnerbait guy, so he was excited to hear that. All right, we've Brian said Jimmy Houston would be proud. Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Talk about a big spinnerbait guy. But yeah, so one that we asked a while back to each other, because now Robert and I will do this to each other a little bit. Your favorite movie?
Well, I used to have a lot, but right now, so far, it's been like either Top Gun, the new Top Gun, or the new Gran Turismo movie, the video game. Okay. I don't know. My kids got to watch it, and I watch that movie all the time, especially my son. He really likes it, and we get into iRacing. So it's like it kind of hits home when we watch that movie.
Okay. So here's a fun one. Since you've got kids, your favorite thing on TV or movie that your kids watch?
Oh man.
You actually like to watch with them.
I'm trying to think right now, because I'll be quite honest with you. Some of the stuff that's on TV now, I'm kind of like, I don't know if I like that too much. But I mean, I don't let them watch something bad, but like some of the stuff. But trying to think, like, we watch a lot of YouTube. Like my family, we watch a lot of YouTube stuff. So I really don't know, man. Like I don't, I really don't know. I'll say a movie. Let me say this: every night when we sit down and eat dinner, we have our family time. We eat and we watch Family Matters. Remember Family Matters, Urkel? So like we were watching Boy Meets World. We finished that up, and then we watched Home Improvement. And right now we're on Family Matters. So that's what I see on TV a lot when I come home in the afternoons. Like it's Family Matters.
Okay, absolutely. Robert says Ben 10. I don't know that I've ever seen an episode of Ben 10.
No, so I've never heard of Ben 10.
For me, so my son's 3.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about some bad television? There's some really annoying things that kid likes to watch. But I mean, I know it's the cliche answer right now, but as far as Robert says my kids are old now. But as far as toddler television goes, Bluey is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
I mean, I will man up and I will say it. I have cried at an episode watching Bluey. Like they do a phenomenal job with that show. And then as far as like a movie goes that he really enjoys, Encanto from Disney is another like just absolute masterpiece. It is as close to a perfect animated movie as I've ever seen. So
I can't remember what is it. I remember seeing it, but I can't remember what that one is. It sounds familiar.
Yeah, that's the one where they live in the magical house and everybody in the family except for one person has all the magical powers. And
yeah, I think I was watching that the other day. I remember that now.
Yeah, the soundtrack is phenomenal too. Like I didn't get into musical movies until I was an adult, but now that I've started enjoying them a little bit, like I noticed like, oh yeah, that soundtrack is killer.
Yeah. I'll tell you another movie to see, and I do not like musicals. I'll tell you this. Like if I know it's a musical, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can watch this because my daughter likes High School Musical and all that stuff, you know. And then she also liked oh gosh, I can't think of the other movie, but we went and seen Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory, the new one.
Okay.
Or Wonka, that's what it was, Wonka. And I seen the previews and I didn't even know for some reason. I'm like, the old Wonka was a musical. I don't know why I didn't put this together, but anyways, went and seen that. That is a really, really good movie. You want to take your kids to see if they can sit through a movie. You know what I mean? Like it don't have nothing really bad in it, you know, and it's just a good family movie. It's a good movie. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, absolutely. All right, man. Well, Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like Pitch Perfect and you want to watch a movie with your kids, Sing is actually the music in Sing is really good. The movie itself was the storyline of the movie was a little bit but the music was pretty good.
Yeah, that was a good movie. I really like that movie.
I hadn't seen the sequel, but I'm sure I will at some point.
Yeah, I got a good one for you. Here's a good question, because my wife picks on me all the time. You know, I don't get much into what I call chick flicks. You know, like love, romance movies. But is there one movie out there that you can think of that's like a romance chick flick movie that's your favorite?
Oh man. See, I'm not really a chick flick person. I'm trying to think of one, but
I'll tell you mine real quick.
All right.
Dear John with Channing Tatum, or however you say his name.
Okay.
I don't know why I like that movie, but it's a really good movie. Like it's my wife picks on me all the time. She goes, I think you got a crush on Channing Tatum. I'm like, no, I don't have a crush on him, but it's a really good movie. She's like, your movie's on, honey.
Oh man. Yeah, I
can't really think of one. I'll put you on the spot.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Just because it's so far out of my normal wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Well,
you got kids, so like where my kids are older, you know what I mean? Like me and my wife have opportunities to sit down and just watch a movie by ourselves sometimes, you know, where when you got kids, I understand, like it's especially younger kids, it's hard to watch stuff like that because you're worried that it's either going to be bad or, you know, there could be a scene in there you got to worry about because you just never know how some of these movies are nowadays. I've learned that PG-13 or PG doesn't mean PG-13 or PG like it was when we were younger, you know?
Right.
So you're like, holy crap, did they say that?
Well, I mean, you know, Spaceballs was PG.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. Some movies PG means different than other PGs, I guess. I don't
know. Robert says the new Top Gun is his favorite chick flick. Just kidding. Nah, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of the ones that my wife has forced me to sit through.
Yeah.
You know, like the first one that comes to mind of ones that it's like I can at least enjoy it. Along Came Polly.
Yeah.
Ben Stiller and Jennifer Aniston. But so yeah, that's the best answer I can come up with.
Right. Hey man, it's good that you don't know. You know what I mean? Like I think it's good that you don't know. Some of those movies, yeah, like, you know, you just kind of get in them. Like you'll be walking by and you're like, what are you watching? And then all of a sudden you kind of just sit down and you're like, oh, let me get into this. So
yeah, I like my wife is not really a movie person. Like, so had you asked, like, you know, her TV show that I can enjoy, like it would have been a little bit easier. Because I don't know.
chick flick movies.
Uh,
What are you just holding out? You're like, man, I'm too embarrassed. I ain't telling nobody. I like Dirty Dancing. Or
Robert said when my kids were young, I was going to show them Goonies. I had to turn it off after about 5 minutes.
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. It is crazy that I guess when you're younger, you don't think nothing about it until when you got kids, and then you're
Right.
like, oh, wait a minute, I can't believe, like it's oh man, I'm trying to think what movie me and my wife watched the other day, and it just, I mean, we finally had to cut it off. We were about 10, 15 minutes in, and I'm like, they even said this many words already into this movie. Like, I don't need to watch it. Like, we shouldn't be watching it.
Right.
Like, I don't ever remember saying all that when I was younger, but I guess we just never paid no mind to it,
Yeah. So my dad and I have a gift of being able to quote a movie back to you the first time we've seen it. So my dad would go to the movie theater and watch it before we would go. And then whenever we would watch it, we would rent it at Blockbuster or something, and he would buy it and we would watch it, and he would cough at every cuss word. He had the whole movie memorized and would cough over every cuss word.
That's funny. It's like, Dad, are you okay? You got a cold?
So yeah, like Jurassic Park is like the one that's like burned into my brain. Like I whenever I watch Jurassic Park now, I hear Daddy's coughing over the.
You don't hear the cuss word. You just hear coughing now. You don't. Oh, my dad coughs right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's crazy. Movies, the way things are now. Even you got to be careful with YouTube. Like we try to have our parental stuff, cut on with our YouTube stuff. Now my son's older; he's right at 15. I still don't like him watching, bad stuff. My son's big into guns. He likes, he just loves guns. That's his thing. Like he likes fishing, but he loves hunting. Like hunting is his thing. And now he's getting into archery and he likes that. But you do got to watch some of these guys on YouTube, man. Just some of them kind of get out of control with the things they say or the little innuendos that they use for jokes and stuff like that. And my daughter, I've seen stuff that she's watched too, and then you kind of got like, okay, no, you're off of this. Now I know what you can't watch,
Right.
And thankfully we walk in on that stuff, like when you kind of walk in, you're like, whoa, what did she say? And you just never know anymore on that stuff. But yeah, it's a tough time, man, to bring kids up with everything that's on TV. And maybe it was just as bad as when we was young. I just don't remember it,
Right. All right, man. Well, we have had you for more than an hour. I wanted to give you a chance to, kind of let us know what's coming up next, plug your socials, and tell everybody where to listen to the podcast, because, you are coming out with podcasts every now and then, which is, I think didn't happen until we had our podcaster roundtable. Speaking of the podcaster roundtable, that $50 gift card has not been claimed yet. So if you can come up with anybody who has been anybody who was on that podcaster roundtable with Josh and I, other than Josh and I, you'll win that gift card. You got until he finishes his sponsors and we hang it up.
Yeah, all you gotta do is go on iTunes, man. Check it out. Like, just scroll through. Guess. Talking about anything new coming up. So, like I said, we talked earlier about some products that we got coming out. We'll be releasing those Friday. So I think we'll have like 3 videos coming out on our One Objective Bass Fishing YouTube channel with installs and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. Also, actually, you know what? I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I think we're going to release one video tomorrow on our One Objective Bass Fishing. But our biggest thing right now is our One Objective Outdoors channel that we've been growing. I try to get a little bit better with social media wise on Instagram and Facebook on posts and all that stuff, but I stay so busy with One Objective Bass Fishing side of things, which is kind of crazy sounding how this all works out. But anyways, we've really been pushing. We're close to 1,000 subscribers on our One Objective Outdoors channel. And that's really big for us because it took us a while to grow our other channel like that. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to grow on YouTube, especially with so many fishing channels out there now. It's hard to get that outreach, but we were close to 1,000. So, I mean, if you guys haven't if you don't mind going over, checking that out, subscribing, we got some really cool content coming out. And me and James fishing tournaments from the bass boat to the kayak side and all that stuff, So we do a little bit of outdoor stuff, like as in ATVing, shooting guns, all that stuff. But yeah, you can check us out there. Check out our One Objective Bass Fishing YouTube channel. It does sound funny because that's how we started out. One Objective Bass Fishing. We were putting fishing content, and then it just turned into installs and walkthroughs of kayaks and bass boats. And it was kind of felt like our fishing stuff was just getting pushed to the wayside. So we got to do something different. So we did Outdoor Channel. That's where all of our fishing content, hunting content, ATV, and all that stuff goes to. Kind of get the backside of what we do other than just making kayak and bass boat accessories. But yeah, our podcast, it's starting to ramp back up again. It was bad because I was doing them on Sunday nights, and I have really gotten into football, like NFL football. And me and my wife will sit up there and watch it with my son. And then halftime when the best games are coming on are at 8:00 at night on Sunday. So, I'm like, man, and it was getting kind of tough to get guests on Sunday nights because everybody's trying to spend time with their family before the work week starts. And I travel out of town a lot on Mondays and come back in on Wednesdays. So like, it was just during the summer and all that, we're always doing a lot of stuff together. And sometimes it goes to 8:00 at night, if we're out of town fishing or whatever. So I moved it to Thursday nights. We're going to be doing one tomorrow. We're just going to be talking about spring bass fishing and, the bed fishing's coming up. So, but anyways, we're going to be doing that. And, but like I say, you can check them out Thursday nights live on YouTube and Facebook, like we're doing tonight on your show. And normally I try to get the podcast up within a day or two. So here lately I've been a little lazy and not getting it up on iTunes when I should. But yeah, when I come on your show, it really did light a fire in me. Like, cause a couple of guys were like, hey man, you ain't come out with a podcast in a while. And I'm like, well, man, you hear people talk about your show sometimes or encourage you to do another one, and it just life was so busy, as with kids and family. But yeah, we're starting to fire back up. Thursday nights is going to be our deal. And I do got Thursday nighter tournaments coming up, so I might have to push them to Wednesday. I'm not sure on that, but we'll see how that goes. But anyways, yeah, you can follow us there. One Objective Bass Fishing, One Objective Outdoors. Please hit the subscribe button on both channels if you don't mind. And then you can find our podcast on pretty much all the podcast platforms out there.
Absolutely. And I want to give you a chance to shout out sponsors before you do that, though, in case I saw the viewers go up a little bit and then down a little bit. So I don't know who stuck around and who didn't.
Yeah.
If one last chance, if you can name somebody other than Josh and I that were on our podcaster roundtable episode, there is a $50 Omnia Fishing gift card at stake. So yeah, Josh, go ahead and plug those sponsors, man.
I got three main sponsors that really help us out a lot. Missile Baits, great company to work with. John Cruz and Byron and all them guys over there. They're just great. Alex, all of them, great people to work with. Very, very in tune with the fishing industry and, new baits and product development and stuff like that. Just great to work with. I also want to thank Amped Outdoors. Their lithium batteries are phenomenal. Their customer service is phenomenal. And I just love all that they've done for us and our customers. And then Waterland Eyewear. I mean, they've got them on my head, man. I love these bed fishers. These things right here are nice. They might be a little dirty, but these things right here are nice. Especially this time of the year, man. They're moving up on beds. Most places in the country, heck, down there where you're at, North Carolina, they might be on beds now. In Virginia, they're just starting to move up. So, but those right there block the light a lot, and they got all kinds of different frames for big heads, little heads. Mine's big head, so I always got to get the big frame ones. But yeah, no, those companies there, and then just Bob's Up the Creek Outfitters. They help us out a lot in this area. Just product development, kayaks and stuff like that. So I really want to thank him too. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you guys having me on tonight. It's always fun to come over here and talk. Sometimes I feel like I talk too much. I don't know.
No, as a podcast host, that you would rather have somebody who talks too much than not enough. And it's funny, like my dad used to introduce me to people. Say, this is my son Cameron. He doesn't talk to people. So once you come out of your shell, you get talking about something that you love. It's hard to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thank you so much for coming on the show and celebrating 4 years with us. If you don't mind, I'm gonna pray real quick and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, man.
God, thank you so much for 4 years of this podcast, and thank you for this platform that we have to be able to share stories of anglers and their walks with you, and what you've been able to do in their life. God, we thank you for Josh and giving him the opportunity to come on the podcast, and thank you for what he's doing and what he means to so many, and what he means to this fishing community. Thank you for the listener, God, whether they're listening live right now or whether they're listening, 15 years from now on the podcast. Thank you so much for who they are. Thank you for meeting them where they are, and pray that you give them what they need right now in this moment through what it is that we what it is that we've been able to talk about on this podcast, and pray that you continue to bless this show and bless the fishing community, and pray that you, as always, continue putting on a show through us and in us, and pray that you continue to use our podcast as a way to get your message out to the world. God, we love you, and it is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Faith and Fishing podcast. Please consider supporting those that support us. Jade's Jigs lead-free finesse tackle. Use promo code FNF10 at jadesjigs.com for 10% off. Save your outdoors. Stop losing your gear. Use promo code FNFP15 at saveyoutdoors.com for 15% off. Omnia Fishing. Check out Premium, Premium Pro, and their Ambassador program. Use promo code FNF10 for 10% off at omniafishing.com. And if it's your first order, use promo code FNF15 for 15% instead. Mr. B Lure Company. High-quality handmade baits made right here in the U.S. MrBLureCompany.com. Use promo code faithnfishn for 15% off your first purchase. Get outdoors, pedal, and paddle. Check them out at the shop in Greensboro, North Carolina, or at shopgetoutdoors.com for all your paddling and cycling needs. And Nocco Adventure Gear, lighting, power, and all the connectors at Nocco.com. Please rate, review, subscribe on whatever app you're listening on. That's going to do it for this episode. Y'all take care and God bless.